Mr. Leon Pereira.
Question 2, please.
Mr. Speaker, sir, over the past 5 years, the National Productivity Fund, NPF, has disbursed more than $1 billion across 47 projects relating to productivity improvements and continuing education and training, CET. About half was spent on productivity improvement projects and the other half was spent on CET programs. Some of the larger projects funded by the NPF include sector-specific schemes like the Construction Productivity and Capability Fund, as well as the schemes that support enterprise and workforce transformation like the IGP, the Inclusive Growth Program, and the Skills Future Enterprise Credit Scheme. Projects supported by NPF complement our wider range of schemes and projects in driving productivity improvements. In identifying the areas for productivity improvement, the sector agencies take into account feedback from the industry, best practices from Singapore and in fact globally, as well as relevant benchmarking studies. For example, to identify suitable interventions for greater productivity in the retail and food services sectors, productivity benchmarking studies were commissioned on industry performance and efficiency in areas such as labour and space in Singapore and overseas. The design and implementation of projects are done in close collaboration and consultation with our TACs, trade associations and chambers, and also Employment and Employability Institute. Working with the relevant TACs help ensure that initiatives are designed to meet the needs of the industry. For example, the Hotel Innovation Committee, HIC in short, in an effort that is led by SHAR, which is Singapore Hotel Association, and supported by STB, Singapore Tourism Board, steered the tourism sector to adopt technology solutions to raise productivity. The HIC developed initiatives like the Hotel Technology Directory to connect industry players with technology solutions providers as they sought to transform their business processes. This has helped to spur the adoption of solutions such as self-checked-in technology that is integrated with STB's e-visitor authentication system with robotics and also RFID tracking.
I thank the MOS for her reply. Just a few supplementary questions. Firstly, to confirm my understanding, does the NPF restrict its funding to other government agencies to support projects that those agencies are running, or is the NPF also open to funding TACs, business chambers, or even individual companies for their productivity enhancement efforts? So that's my first SQ. Second SQ is the approach taken by the NPF more proactive or reactive, or is it a blend of both? Meaning to say that can any organization pitch a project to the NPF to request funding, or is it the case that the NPF is not really open to that sort of modus operandi and they will just determine what sectors or what projects they want to do in any particular year? And thirdly, I'm wondering if the NPF makes easily available online, a statement of its objectives, its KPIs, its strategy, maybe a review of what it's done the past year. Many statutory boards, the MOS would appreciate, many stat boards agencies do have an annual report online where the CEO will talk about the agency's priorities, where they talk about what they did in the previous year, what their goals are for the coming year and so on. I found it quite difficult to search for this information, and I'll stand corrected if I just didn't try hard enough, but I only found some information on the NPF for 2010 and 2017. For 2017, I was able to find the annual report. It's a very brief annual report, and I found it through the National Archive website, actually. So I'm just wondering if this information is easily available, and if not, will it be made easily available going forward, given the tremendous amount of funding that's going into the NPF? Thank you.
Two observations, to keep it concise, and reminder, try to keep it to two SQs.
Thank you,
We'll
Mr.
sneak in a
Speaker.
third one.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I want to thank the member, Mr. Leon Pereira, for his 3 questions, if I got it right. And maybe allow me to take a step back to recap. Mr. Leon Pereira and the members will remember that the NPF, the National Productivity Fund, was set up in 2010 to support programs relating to productivity enhancement as well as CET continuing education and training. And it came about actually really because of ESC, if you remember. It was part of the wider push for productivity growth arising from the ESC recommendations. Now, the MPF has been set up in 2010, so it's been, for about 13 years. And the MPF, especially since the formation of the Future Economy Council, also supports the work of the 23 Industry Transformation Map. And I think the MTI-COS on Tuesday have highlighted the work of the ITMs. And the ITM actually are not just under the purview of MTI and our 9 economic agencies. Some of the other agencies and ministries are involved. For example, for the built environment, BCA is very, very involved in spearheading the built environment ITM. So the MPF supports the work of the Future Economy Council that drives the growth and the transformation of Singapore's economy for the future. You remember that for the ITM, actually there are a few pillars. Productivity is one important pillar. Innovation, internationalization, creating good jobs for Singaporeans today and tomorrow. So the establishment and the top-up for the MPF really highlights Singapore government's strong commitment towards productivity enhancement and also CET. I want to assure him that the productivity projects that's funded by the MPF actually really complements the wide range of schemes and projects, not just in MTI, but like I say, across the ministries and agency in improving productivity of all sectors of the economy. Now, maybe at this juncture, let me share with him one number. Since I gave the number for the disbursement over the last 5 years, for a sense of our overall progress in productivity improvements, our labour productivity growth rates was 2.6% per annum in the last 5 years prior to COVID. And this is consistent. This is consistent with the target growth rate of 2% to 3% set in 2010 when the MPF was set up. Then his question is, the question he also asked about TACs. So for example, the work of the ITM is such that the sector agency cannot create the policy, in isolation. We have to work with the TACs because they actually play a very important role advocating for the sector, bridging the communication with the sector, and in fact, connecting the sector together, being a voice for the sector. So the TACs are actually very, very involved. In my PQ reply, you would have heard I use the example of hotel. We work closely with SHA. STB work closely with SHA to bring those about. That's really how we get buy-in, to really level up the productivity across the sector by sector, in fact, sub-sector by sector, whether it's at hotel, retail, food services, construction, etc. Then he asked about whether can companies apply, the companies who are interested can certainly approach the sector agencies, right, or even the TAC who might be involved. And for example, I want to share with him that the funds from the MPF are used to support meritorious productivity and CET schemes. And each of the project will have different criteria to meet, whether is it the vertical sectoral specific one or is it the horizontal one. And to his last question, which is make available more information, and this is certainly done across all ITMs, sharing about how we are meeting, working together with the TACs and also the companies in the sector, in fact, trade unions. The various trade unions are very, very involved in working with the TACs and the sector agency to curate these jobs and also to really implement this productivity drive. Let me, very quickly, if Mr. Speaker could indulge me, I talked about hotel. And let me cite the example of Tranche 2 of the Hotel Productivity Plan.
I will indulge to a point.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, which was completed in March 2022, just last year, with a $1.36 million of grant that's dispersed for a duration of 2016 to 2022. And amongst the 8 initiatives under this Hotel Productivity Plan, one of them is to proliferate shared services at the group level. And STB has exceeded the KPI in this initiative. I won't bore you with the detail, but I just highlight how it has done so. It embarked on more than 40 projects at group level to encourage our hotels to develop centralized systems in areas like IT, HR, property management, customer management, and also to adopt shared services such as group-level branding and marketing. And actually, in so doing, to really raise the productivity such that we can create better jobs, better well-paying jobs for Singaporeans.
Again, this is my better judgment, Mr. Pereira. It's a quick one, please.
I will keep it to two, and I thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Speaker. So very quickly, just first ask you to confirm my understanding. So the NPF, basically, if I read the MOS correctly, only funds other government agencies and government programs. It doesn't give funding directly to TACs or to companies. So that's my first SQ. Second SQ is, would the ministry commit to making available, clear statements online of, what the MPF's activities are, what its goals are, what its priorities are, based on the research that it's doing to make this readily available to members of the public? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I'll also keep it short.
Yes, please.
I
Thank
want
you.
to thank the member again for his two supplementary questions. And the MPF is available for the ministry agencies to tap into to spearhead productivity enhancement projects and CET that will benefit the TACs and the sector. So actually, in a way, the TACs and the companies are tapping on the funding as well, right? Now, for his second question, as our companies and our workers benefit from a wide range of schemes, in addition to the MPF, the various schemes itself are also subject to scrutiny. Now, I also want to assure him that within the MPF, we regularly monitor the progress of the project that's funded by MPF to ensure that they meet project-level targets. For example, the hotel productivity plan I shared with him, and that's just one initiative. So we will monitor how they've met the targets and the KPI item by item, such as number of firms or individuals who benefited from the projects. I also want to assure him that our MCI economists also conduct regular studies to examine the individual impact of key schemes under MPF.